Welcome everybody. It's our second webinar, international webinar we're organizing from R8. My name is Sebastian. I'm the moderator, the host of today, and we'll be able to share 6 different solutions, 5 startups, 1 corporate as well. 6 different solutions for the retail sector. Really good to have you all aboard here. Really nice to have a different set of speakers and a really interesting crowd as well. This webinar is sponsored by CBRE. It's sponsored by the Dutch Council of Shopping Centers, the Finnish Council of Shopping Centers, and PropTech Finland as well. So really thanks for their support on this one. As mentioned, we would only take just an hour of your time just to show you these, just over an hour, to show you all the solutions we have collected for you. Let's give a welcome to the crowd, the speakers we have. So first up, we would have Juhani from CBRE Finland. Hi, Juhani. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to be here.
So we have Tobias from Germany.
Hi, everyone.
Sander from the Netherlands.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Hanu from Finland as well.
Hello, everyone.
Imre from Estonia.
Hi, nice to meet you.
And Francis from the UK. Francis, welcome.
Hi there, everyone.
So the setup of this webinar is pretty simple. We've seen a lot of things going on lately due to COVID. And we've seen that retail has definitely had a large impact due to COVID. Shopping centers being closed or partially closed, depending on the country. Shops being closed, and we now see them opening up again. So that's definitely interesting to see what's happening. And it's good to see what PropTech solutions might be able to speed up the recovery or help in a sustainable recovery as well. So this is the speakers list for today. Every speaker has 6 to 8 minutes for his slide deck, and then we have a 2 to 3 minutes Q&A session. For all of you who have a question, please use the Q&A tab. You can see it, I think it's on top or in the bottom of your screen. It says Q&A. If you have a question, let us know. We'll be able to take that up to the speaker. If he receives 2 or more questions, then he'll be able to join or answer those questions afterwards as well. So if you have any questions or comments, then definitely let us know. If you have any other issues, sound issues, you might want to leave a comment as well, or technical difficulties, send an email to webinar@r8tech.io. So for the first speaker of today, Juhani, you're welcome to take over the screen.
Thank you. Let me try. I think I succeeded.
Yep.
Great. Okay. So first of all, thanks for inviting, and obviously good to be here speaking to all of you. There's a hefty amount of people. I will try to be quick, so please contact me afterwards because I will definitely not going to cover everything in 10 minutes. So very short, the corporate stuff. CBRE is, as you probably know, the largest real estate advisor globally, and in CBRE Finland we have 8 service lines currently, and I represent one of them, namely property management. And as mentioned, my name is Juhani Hiippavuori, and I am responsible for shopping center management business in Finland. Now, over the last 3 years, we have doubled our managed shopping center portfolio and are now at 11, which makes us the market leader in Finland, excluding self-management companies. Now, EMEA-wide, we manage roughly 300 shopping centers and globally over 1,000. And that's it for corporate stuff. So let's talk retail intelligence and decision-making more. Now, this is really a no-brainer. We all know we should use the right-hand side in decisions, but we like to use the left. Fair enough, we're just humans. But you should at least have the facts and data available when making the decisions. And as Sebastian mentioned, COVID is a good example of actually the significance and accurate also in data. So we need more accurate and more up-to-date data than ever. And all of us have heard from the news that COVID had and has a dramatic impact on footfall and generally consumer behavior. Also, we know that there are deviances between markets and cities, but that's really it. At the same time, you would really want to have accurate and real-time data of your market, I mean, your specific market and your specific assets and the catchment areas, not just general knowledge that you hear or read from the news or Twitter. And at least for us, this is very, very important piece of data, for example, in lease negotiations. Also, and when it's back to normal, who knows? I mean, forecasting is more valuable and at the same time more difficult than ever. And for that, you need data, obviously. And by the way, this graph that you can see on the right-hand side of the European cities' high street volume from the beginning of February at the end of, it's actually 12th of June, updated the last. You don't get this from Twitter. You get this with Calibrate, for instance, which is our own tool, which plays with location big data. Let's dig into it a bit. So with Calibrate, we can determine how the consumer behaves annually, quarterly, monthly, weekly, day by day, or even hourly. We can see when they move, where they go, where they live, based on zip codes, and where they work. Are they international based, and how they interact with other locations than ours. And this is how it works roughly. Remember, it usually takes me 1 hour to talk this through, so this is a very rough briefing. We determine targets. In this picture, we've determined site A, site B, and site C. These of which A is your retail destination, for example, and B and C are competing schemes. Now, whenever your phone needs location data, it pings your exact location through GPS satellite. And when you are in these determined sites, we get that data after 48 hours because your location data is saved and has been saved in different application service providers for years. For example, a calendar or a weather service. And that's where we get it from. So we don't need Wi-Fi or Bluetooth tracking or any hardware installations whatsoever. Now, then we look back and follow you around and can determine the common evening location, meaning your home, if you're not a taxi driver or a nightclub host, and a common daytime location, meaning work. And also, where do you go in between? Meaning, you've, for example, might have 4 visits to site B, and 2 visits to site C, and 1 visit to site A. Now, the amount of data we get in Finland specifically is 20 million pings, meaning location data, per month. So it's a hefty amount. And this is what it looks like. And this is a test from my IT skills a bit. Yay, I managed it. So there we go. I'm going to really quickly run through the tool. I'm going to check. I'm halfway, right, Sebastian? Looks good. 5 minutes to go. So this is what it looks like. This is in Tableau, as you can see. So it's just data put in Tableau. We're looking at now is analysis of Helsinki area from July 2000.
Juhani, just to interrupt you, we're seeing this the main screen of Calibrate.
Yes, that's it. That's what you should see.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing anything on the left, so not sure what happened.
On the left, what do you mean?
Yeah, that where you're now pointing your.
Yeah, there's supposed to be nothing, so it's good.
Oh.
You have to give me a second. This is just the intro. Good. So yeah, this is data from July 2017 till March 2020. And let me walk you through very, very quickly. You can see the locations up here. And I've chosen, just for a demo, city center high street area from Helsinki. We've defined it like this. We can see traffic analysis. This is how people walk Q1 2020. And this is the daily traffic distribution for between hours and weekdays. Now we can distribute the same thing between days and months. Now we have here weeks of days and months, and again we're looking at 2020 for these particular locations. Now remember, this is not like shopping center specific. It's on a map. We can paint whatever shape you want on a map, and we just name the shapes of the map like this. We can also see real catchment area where people really come from based on their home location. In this picture, you can see Kamppi and Redi on top of each other, because we can obviously compare different assets like in this one. So this is based on the home location, not based on any gravitational model or any sort of speculative, what would the consumer do? So it's based on location data. And again, then we add a map on top of that, meaning we add a purchasing power map, which we get free from the city of Finland. And we can see the purchasing power for each catchment area. And we see some stats, meaning data of the catchment areas. In this case, again, there's Kamppi and Redi. Just for example, we can see the population of the catchment areas, primary catchment, secondary, tertiary, for each center or location, and then the median distance the consumers travel. And also we see internationality of the visitors. For this, I've selected city center high streets, and comparing 2018 to 2019, we can see that in the international visitors has declined in Helsinki city center over that year. And we can also see, as you can see, the exact locations where they come from. And this is very interesting to us. I appreciate it's difficult to read at first glance, but we can see where else people visit than this part, meaning that where else we have seen them during this time. In this case, it's 2020 that we've seen the location. Well, we've seen, actually, we haven't seen the people, we've seen the equipment travel in these particular assets, how many times. And finally, we get to see a market share. So this is basically the catchment areas divided between all the locations we can see here.
Wow, really interesting, Juhani. I need to cut you off, because
no, that's really it.
We wouldn't have any time left for any.
I know,
questions.
But that's it. So
cool.
Good timing.
It's really nice to see. So we got a question. People, if you have any questions, please put them up in the Q&A tab. So we have a question from Charles de Benaze. Sorry for the bad pronunciation. Juhani, did you develop internally the tracking feature?
It's been developed internally, yes, but the actual tracking is done so that a third-party operator buys the location data from the application owners. So when your application uses it, it uses just one time and then they discard it. So the third-party operator buys this data and then collects it to big data, and then they sell the big data to us, anonymized.
So it's GDPR proof.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So really cool, Juhani. Imre, you're up next.
Let me stop sharing. There we go.
Thank you, Sebastian. Hello, my name is Imre-Gustav, and I'm a team member of R8 Technologies. Just a moment, I will share my screen also with you. So here we go. Over the last months, we have seen some rapid changes in the retail industry. Decisions of closing shops or entire malls have shown that we need to be adapted to sudden changes. Meanwhile, we need to keep focused on keeping a healthy indoor climate and a good functioning heating, ventilating and cooling system. RA Technologies has a solution that helps to increase indoor comfort as well as saving energy at the same time. I hereby share our retail client experience with you. This is a 15,000 square meter shopping mall in Tallinn, in Estonia. It has over 300 controllable heating, ventilating and cooling components and 3,000 data points. It is clear that no human operator can run this system the most optimal way, but our digital operator can. As a result, RA Technologies was able to increase indoor comfort from 69% level to 83% level and save almost 15% of total energy, cutting over 46 tons of CO2 emission in 4 months is a remarkable number also. All this without any investment nor additional hardware. And this is not the only case. Here you can see a short list of some more satisfied clients. RA Technologies software is integrated to over 600,000 square meters of commercial buildings already, mainly in shopping malls, but also in office buildings and hotels. How we do it? For the first step, we integrate our digital operator software to the building automation system remotely according to the highest IT security standards. It doesn't matter what brand of building automation system you have. We are able to connect it. Our solution is a cloud-based software. We use the data of the building automation system to create valuable insights. Also, we use data to adjust settings to optimize comfort levels and energy uses. The more complex the building is, the better results we can achieve. By the way, during the first 4 months in the above-mentioned Magistrali shopping mall in Tallinn, we have made almost 140,000 adjustments in settings. And the most important, all decisions of digital operator are made according to 3 main key performance indicators: energy efficiency, indoor comfort, and building's technical condition. With that, we are able to make sure your heating, ventilating, and cooling system is running as it should be, at the most efficient way. What is digital operator? It is an artificial intelligence that takes your shopping mall technical management to the next generation. To get the best results, we have developed 2 main modules for that: diagnostics and autopilot. We always start with diagnostics to make sure your heating, ventilating, and cooling system is functioning well. It is like driving a car. If it has something broken, there is a risk to end your journey before the destination. Usually we run just diagnostics for a month before launching autopilot. According to our case studies, RA diagnostics can be up to 10 times more effective in fault detection compared to technical teams. The reason for this is simple, that we will allow artificial intelligence to perform all the checks and keeping an eye on it 24/7. As a result, maintenance teams are able to focus on what they do the best. And also the lifespan of equipment is longer as we are able to detect anomalies quicker. Autopilot is an optimizer that ensures indoor climate quality with minimal energy costs. Artificial intelligence makes thousands of calculations per hour and adjustments of automation system settings if needed according to different factors. It is important to know that the final control remains for your team. They decide what indoor requirements need to be followed and when. Your technical team can use the existing PMS or our platform. Always an interesting question is, where does the money come from? Our technologies earn from the value that we offer. If we cannot achieve value, no money for us and goodbye. It is easy to remember about our technology's value. Remote setup without additional hardware. Solution as a service, results-oriented pricing, and money-back guarantee. Our business model has been developed to get the best out of the building. Like I mentioned already, after the integration, we just listened to your building for a month to check if the technical systems function well. After that, we know exactly what works fine and what are the shortages. And then we will run. We will launch our autopilot to optimize our energy usage and report the results we have achieved on a monthly basis. We always save you more money than we earn from you. For the end, I would like to say some words about our technologies also. We were born in Estonia 3 years ago, and we're active across Europe. There are no geographical limitations for us. There is nothing to wait for. Take your chance to lower your operational costs and increase your sustainability. Contact us now. And here you can see our contact details. Don't miss the opportunity to make some radical changes to the way your building would work for you. Thank you for the attention.
Well, thanks, Imre. People, if you have any questions, put them in the Q&A tab. Let them know. Let Imre know. So Imre, one of the questions always arises, I already have a BMS. Can you give an example of how the digital operator is different in flexibility compared to a normal building management system?
Yeah, sure. Just one sample of many. For example, a shopping center manager is able to change indoor climate per tenant in a couple of clicks now, without going through multiple communication layers anymore. So we believe that it makes everybody's life much easier and better.
Okay, cool. So I see no other open questions. People, if you have a question, then put them in the chat window. Sander, you're up next. Thanks, Imre.
All right. Let me check if I can share my screen with you. Does it look like this?
Yep, good.
All right. Yeah, first of all, big thanks for RI Tech for hosting this webinar. And of course, a big thanks also to the sponsors to make this all happen. And thank you to all the attendants to joining this webinar. So my name is Sander Versput. I'm one of the founders of Chainels. Chainels is a PropTech company based in Rotterdam, the Netherlands. And we always position ourselves as the retail's pocket-sized community tool. So we developed an online platform, an app to connect all the tenants with the landlord and all the service providers such as property management, marketing, leasing, facility management, security, and sometimes even local authorities. So the end goal is to create one place for tenants where they can really find all the information they need to run their business in the shopping center or shopping destination. Briefly about our footprint. So currently the system is deployed in 250 shopping destinations, mainly in Europe, but recently also in Latin America. And our main clients are owners, investors of retail properties. And that really ranges from a small retail park with 8 or 10 tenants to a large shopping center, or to even an entire inner city with about 2,000 companies on the platform spread across different communities. Looking at the current situation around Corona, we really see that a current challenge is to regain the trust of your visitors, of the consumers, and at the same time create a safe and secure shopping environment. So more important than ever is, I believe, the sustainable, creating a sustainable landlord-tenant relationship. So looking back at the 70s, it was really about handing over the key, maybe coming back 20 years later. But now we see that a good collaboration between not only tenants, landlord, but also all the service providers is really vital to create a good shopping experience. And looking at the current situation, there are a couple of current topic and challenges that I would like to share with you. One is, of course, that measures and regulations in the industry are changing very regularly. So government regulations can even change on a daily basis. So therefore, it's important to share those information with tenants and all the stakeholders involved. Another challenge is, of course, creating a viable business for your tenants. And on the other hand, making sure everything is safe by also optimizing the opening hours. You might even want to show the peak hours to your visitors so that people can schedule when they come to the shopping center. Another big topic is, of course, about transparency and about retrieving insights from tenants on how they perform. Because if you have insights, you can make better agreements about rental payments and so on. However, if we zoom in at the day-to-day practice of a shopping center or shopping destination, we see that a shopping destination is a very complex organization. So there are a lot of different stakeholders involved, a lot of changes in tenants. The information is scattered across email, phone calls, and paperwork. So in general, we see really a lot of old-fashioned workflows. A lot of these workflows happen via hard copy forms, calls. We heard that retrieving performance details of a tenant can even take about a day each month for a leasing manager to capture all those data. Besides this, we measured that about 30% of the tenants in the shopping center, they really receive information too late, or they don't even receive it because of incorrect contact details. And in today's world, with all the social media and fast communication on Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, name them, we also see that tenants expect this type of real-time information and data sharing, one tenant-centric approach, to be able to have all the information they need to run their business. So I don't have that much time, but just to give you a preview on this, I just want to show you a bit from the home screen of our app. Obviously, what you see is also dependent on your role and authorization level. So a store manager will see different information compared to a staff member or compared to maybe someone working in the finance department of the retailer. So in general, the idea is that you have really everything you need to run your business, ranging from statistical data like footfall or how you perform compared to other shops in your branch, but also just day-to-day communication like events, alerts, things that are coming up. Also, you can do all kinds of requests, like getting access to the shopping center outside of opening hours. You have access to services and amenities, like booking promotional spaces, staff offers, but also it's really easy to just contact the center management team if you have any questions. At Chainels, we are always looking at, we always see our product as part of a larger ecosystem. So that's why we're always open to connect our system through third-party APIs with other systems. So this is an example that we developed recently because of the Corona crisis. So this is a way to show occupancy, so real-time occupancy to specific dedicated stakeholders, such as center management or even tenants if you allow them to. Of course, the web version has a bit more dedicated features like the ability to manage all your members, so a CRM-like part, but also all kind of dashboards like issue reporting, turnover reporting. So this is another example of how you can collect certain KPIs, and this can also be again connected to the data warehouse of the landlord. So as I didn't have that much time, of course it would be great to talk in a bit more detail later on, and all the attendants in this webinar can also request a free demo at our website. So yeah, that was my story for today, and thanks a lot for your attention.
Well, thanks, Sander. Really interesting. So one of the questions I had is that it either uses an app or it uses the website, but how do you make sure that people actually use the app and download the app and use it?
Yeah, that's definitely a good question. We hear that question more often. So in general, I think there are a couple of ingredients for a successful community. One of them is really about mandatory workflows. So a couple of those workflows, like getting access to the shopping center outside opening hours, reporting your turnover, that's really obligatory. You have to do it some way. It can be either via a form, email, or via our system. So if you allow tenants to do that workflow only via the portal, that will create a lot of activity. Of course, relevance is important of all the messages. And then there are a couple of other incentives, like having the staff offers in place. And we also have a team of community builders that can even visit the asset to make sure that all the contact details are up to date from the specific tenants.
Okay, cool. So, and you also mentioned having authorities connected to the platform. What's their role, or what's their purpose of being connected as well?
To make it simple, if you look at a retailer's organization, you have different people working for that organization. So you will have typically a store manager that manages the store. You have someone behind the cash register, of course. You have people on the floor, and you have people at the head office. And they should all be able to see different information that you share with them. Mm-hmm. So to mention an example, someone at the head office should have access to the turnover reporting part, maybe, or if it's the store manager's role, he or she can also have access. So the owner of the system can really determine who sees what in general.
Okay, good, thanks. I don't see any other open questions at the moment. People, if you have any questions, then let me know, or use the Q&A tab. You know that. It's quiet today. So thanks, Sander. Really good, interesting solution, which is really helpful for the communications part, which is obviously at this time even more critical, or even more interesting to be able to do that in a standardized way. So really cool. Hanu from Assetti. You're still on mute.
Yeah, I was sorry. I was muted. Good, thanks. So I have roughly sort of like 10 minutes to go, and I try to be brief. I was a bit of a balancing whether to run a product demo or just go with the slide deck, but I stayed with the latter, and if that's okay, I will just share my screen, and hopefully everybody can see my screen. So just coming in a second. And of course, after this, we're very willing to, if you want to have a demo and so forth, free to contact. So yeah, sure. Thanks for the audience. Thanks for the participants. Thanks for the arrangers. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity. And my subject for today is the better yields through better asset management. And that is, of course, with the help of an asset and portfolio management application. I could tell a long story about, what are applications and why our application is terrific and super. But I just thought to be very pragmatic in a way that if you think about retail, it covers everything from a very simple consumer daily goods, triple net leases to very complex shopping malls. So it covers everything from small operations to big operations. And secondly, what it comes to mind during the COVID is like you have a lot of like requests for rental rebates or free periods, and that's because all the tenants are struggling. And for the time being, the whole industry has been running on Excel. So my whole story today will be that get rid of your Excels, or at least decrease the number of Excels, and don't use email as your primary way of communicating with your tenants or your investors. So it's time to move on to the application world. So what is actually basically Assetti? It's a property and asset management tool, meaning that you can easily capture and have your assets accessible in one place. So it's a web application of a platform nature. Then your portfolio performance is visualized on any device, and there's a simple setup, no hidden cost. And what I mean with that, from the practical point of view, like as I mentioned already, why to run on Excel, instead of, or the other way around, why to run an application instead of Excel? That if they're especially in the times of COVID, when there are a lot of like requests to decrease the rent, or even have a 3 months in order to just to stay alive during the crisis, is that, does it have an impact on the rental? Yes, it does. Does it have an impact on the cash flow, and especially on the cash flow projection? Yes, it does. But if you have in disparate places, like your lease admin and then your like cash flow statement in an Excel model, then of course there's a lot of manual work which could be done in one application, like Assetti. And what is the data structure actually consisting? What is the application all about? Okay, you can always see when you look at the application like Assetti, nice dashboards and that stuff, but what is the content? And I think, at least from my point of view, I've been working on the property and asset management side of the business. You need to have the the property data with all related details. What's the units, what's the location, what are the amenities and so forth, coupled with the full financial disclosure, meaning the income and cost, basically operating expenses, the rental income, plus the capex, so the capital expenditure, what you actually planning and spending on that asset. Then also asset values, images, just to visualize them, and then the core of everything is of course rental, which is basically the leases, and that enables to to manage your portfolios and assets in one place, create strategies, and also follow up them in a way that if you plan something, you can really follow up them, and then also report to investors, store the asset values, and track the financial performance of your assets or the portfolio in totality, manage the relationship to tenants better, and even like to couple with some of the tenant engagement tools, what we've seen today, one or community tools. And that gives also, when you have all the data in one place, to support the property transactions. There's no way or need to create everything separately again as a DD material when you have everything up to date in one place. So basically, Assetti is a one application for many users. Of course, there's one owner of the account. There's the one who's running. Might be a manager managing on behalf of the investors, or might be the investor itself. But through that, the one operating the account can really give an access to others, that you can to have really a collaboration tool around the data, whether that be an investor, asset manager, investment manager, or even property managers. So that's typical use case for us, that we connect asset managers to property managers in order to have the common view on and understanding of the asset. And then, of course, you can share the data from any need-to-know basis for surveyors or valuators or advisors in case. So no need to create some different data sheets based on various sources of data in an Excel format. Why I'm saying that better data management means better yields? I think it goes a lot to the industry, which is really manual and tedious, process bound and driven in a way that lease admin is somewhere, then the financials are somewhere, and the rental is basically a put together Excel spreadsheet. But through better data management, you actually can really concentrate on the issues at hand, whether it's the rental levels, whether it's the vacancy, whether it's the information from like application like CBRE is presenting, so the catchment analysis area. but it really captures your own information. Also through an API, you can retrieve some external data, and then you can really build the whole understanding of your asset performance and the portfolio performance, whether that's yields or values, vacancy matrices, looking at the individual tenant profitabilities, long-term plans, whether it's a refurbishment on a certain unit when renegotiating a lease or repositioning the whole asset. And for that, of course, you need to have the financial data for the operating expenses and capital expenditure, which is a CapEx, basically. And the power of Assetti, to my understanding, we now 7 years in the business, that you can easily navigate from a portfolio level down to a single property lease or tenant. So from a very overall helicopter view to down to a single unit or a single lease or a single tenant, and to understand that what's going on. And part of that is also, of course, to give the transparency to enable, which means that Assetti can capture really the full financial data from your underlying legacy systems, whether that's a property management system or whether that's a financial admin system. But it basically, you configure the structure of your portfolio in a way that is either PropCo or HoldCo, meaning property company, holding company, the individual asset, and then that is owned by some holding companies on structures, which is typically called special vehicle. And for that, you need to have the income and cost, operating expenses budget, and then comparison in order to track the performance. So bearing that in mind, that you have the data in one place, of course, it gives you a really like trackability or sort of like accessibility and understanding where it's going. And of course, the KPIs is pretty sort of goes without saying type of a functionality, which a lot of web application nowadays provide. But it's more or less, they have the really concrete data in the hands of the people. So whether that's an asset manager, the commercial shopping center manager, or property managers, so they all at the same situational view. I used to call it like a bonfire. So people go, sort of like collect or gather around the same data, so they can actually have the same view. What are the issues at hand, and what we should do about those issues if there's something to be done and planned for. So as I said, one of the key use cases I think during the COVID time has been, like the leases and rental, because there's been so much rebates or requests and so forth. And if you're running on Excel, it can be a bit of a tedious and cumbersome. But with Assetti, you can actually have the actual lease data combined with the financials. So you can sort of like store as a note the rebate, what is being requested, and then also then forecast in a cash flow and see in the rental what the impact basically, and see it from the KPI, and then think about, okay, how we're gonna plan forward our sort of operational performance from now on. But in that sense, Assetti works also as an operational tool to have your rental process, and also Assetti also does do the rental agreements with the turnover base, which is essential for the shopping centers. But capturing, for example, the turnovers from the tenants, you can use another third-party application, which then feeds into Assetti the actual information of the turnovers, for example. And one of the key issues is really the collaboration with your team and stakeholders, meaning tenants, the investors, and then all the service providers who are working on that. And that's when you have the same view on the units, the leases, the tenants, sort of the basic structure. Then you can also use notes functionality in order to make notes when you're visiting a site, if you're just have any negotiation going on the releasing or having a new tenant or tenant leaving and so forth. And for that, you can use Assetti, or then you can connect to sort of also outside legacy systems, which are basically property management systems. And then maybe to conclude that since we're a pan-European application, we serve all the Nordic languages plus the major continental English, German, French, and Dutch as languages. So if you're running a pan-European portfolio, you can use the, do the asset management level or portfolio level in English, but then the local property managers can use Assetti in their native tongue. And we cater also for different business conventions, whether annual rent or monthly rent in the rental and so forth, which are really sort of like essential in order to have the up-to-date picture where your portfolio and your individual's assets are going. So, and then maybe to just a few words to conclude is that the there are so many sort of like legacy systems out there, and one of the things what we have been doing from the very start is to integrate stability into the other systems, and that means that if you're running a legacy system, whether it's a property management system, financial admin system, or similar, you can connect through either API. We have a RESTful API to connect with, or file-based automation. So basically CSV and Excel, and we've done integration to over 50 systems now during the last 6 to 7 years. So what are the benefits? Better data management means that's easy to use. There are the integration to cater for your, it enables collaboration, it's multilingual, and then it's pretty simple, pricing structure. So it's totally based on subscriptions. And that leads to me kind of like concluding my presentation that it's pretty easy. You can ask for a demo from our website. You can have a demo, and then we also offer trial period. But the prices are there on our website. So that's pretty open, explicit, and you can easily calculate your own budget for asset if you want to run your asset management operation on web application. So that was basically short and quick.
You're a bit over time, but we had some time left, so
Okay.
I just kept you finishing your story. So
and I'm just saying that it's a live application, so now I'm on the live application, so it's there for you. So just concluding that in there.
It's really cool. I like the bonfire metaphor you use. It's different stakeholders using the same data.
Yeah, it's a bit of a revolution in a way that you have an access, so we are on the same side, whether you're property manager as an investment manager. Of course, there are bits and pieces which are not maybe shared, but in a way, I think that's the power of sort of like shareable data platform.
Yeah, you mentioned something about the turnover based leases. How do you handle those?
It's basically sort of a lease type, because we're multi-asset tool, so we do cater for anything from residential to offices and so forth. But we're building configurability into it, so you have a different lease types. And of course, like one of the different shopping malls, you typically have something like a fixed plus the turnover or pure turnover or some other. So we modeled into our data model as well as sort of an UI. And then the only need you need to is actually the rental information, plus every year or quarterly the turnover information, whether you supply through the Assetti or some other third-party application. It's really up to the client.
Okay, we have a question from Carla. Can information such as technical documents, plans, lease agreements, specifications be uploaded into the app?
Yeah, you can. However, it doesn't do the sort of like retrieving the kind of AI, learning the text and so forth, but the actual just as documents, you can really, just download them, upload them. It's the drag and drop functionality, whether it's a floor, kind of like a floor plans to PDF documents and photos and that. So Assetti can take any document.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Anu. Tobias, you're up next.
Yes, thank you. I hope this works properly. You should now be able to see my screen, is that correct?
Yeah,
perfect.
That's okay.
All right, now I clicked by accident. So story to be, we enable brands to interact with people in the real world is our slogan. And the reason we do that is because we think that the old business model of retail is dead as we've known it, and that retail won't win just by differentiating itself by price, as we can see in these 6 examples that have at least filed for insolvency at one point. Even they might have come back. So therefore, we need to rethink retail, and what we think is that we have to move away from a point of sale to a point of experience. So therefore, we have built the marketplace for short-term live marketing spaces. It can also be called digital out of home, which is the more often used term. We're not only digital though, right? So what we do, our marketplace connects the space owners such as ECE or Unibail-Rodamco Westfield, or as well, which are mall operators, obviously, as well as airports, as well as train stations. Basically any point or place that people go through on a regular basis. And we connect them with advertisers and agencies such as Nestle, Procter & Gamble, or bigger advertisement agencies. So they can then find spaces on our platform in order to actually hold up live marketing events. This is one of the results. Some more are coming. We, for example, had BMW and SportCheck, which is a German sports supplier, sports goods supplier, together. And so, because we figured out that they had the same target audience, they then had BMW shop-in-shops in those bigger sports stores, right? We had Casper mattresses put those wagons into the parking lots of shopping malls, because we all know at one point you get tired from shopping and you just need to rest. So we, as you can see, try to find an angle which makes most sense as well. So now we have 3 digital products to rethink retail. The first one is the booking platform, which an agency or a brand can use to search and find and book a space, but also you probably might be more interested in the other 2. We also have the so-called Space Manager. It's our software that lets you organize your spaces and contracts. So since we found that lots of current applications that let you manage your assets, most of them are not actually tailor-made to short-term rentals, right? Most of them are super complex to use. Because they need to, because if you go into a 10-year contract with someone, you have really specific contracts and you have lots of things you actually have to think about for that specific rental space. We're talking about contracts between 1 day and maximum 30 days when it comes to advertisement, or 3 months to 12 months when it comes to pop-up stores, right? So these contracts are normally more simple, and therefore you can completely manage the timeline of your asset in the Space Manager. And with the Space Manager, we've become the tool that's been used, or that is actually used by many specialty leasing teams, as the ones from Unibail-Rodamco, multi-corporation Europe-wide by now, and gives you the ability to also integrate in all your bookkeeping systems and so on. So what happens? Someone finds your space on our platform, wants to book it. You can see through the Space Manager whether it's available or not. If there is any overlap, if you want that customer and you just agree on it, you put in a price, he agrees on the price, and you're basically done. You generate an automated contract, an automatic contract, etc. I don't have a tech demo here right now, but I'm happy to show you anytime. Third product, event analytics. So similar to CBRE, we've created a dashboard that lets you actually visualize the data you gather about the marketing you do, whether it's in your mall, in your asset, whatever kind of asset it is, or if it's specific to your advertisement stand or whatever. It lets you easily visualize it, and it basically feeds on every kind of information you put in, as long as it's somewhat statistical. Now, because we're in the advertisement industry as well as in the real estate industry, we've created 2 KPIs, Tim and its little brother, Timmy, which lets you measure the total interaction minutes you have with your customer, which is super important for your asset as well, because it shows how valuable your asset is over time to an advertising customer. And it does also measure the total interaction minute effectiveness, or as we internally call it, total interaction minutes per euro. So how much do I actually spend? Analyzing all those current channels, we've realized that live marketing, which needs to happen in the real life, and therefore needs to happen in whatever kind of real estate asset has a really high quantity of consumer interaction, and it also costs less than any other channel to get a specific interaction with a customer or with a specific target group. Now, we've seen malls or other shopping places die over time because everything has moved online, but online advertisement now is on the move into the real world, right? So what we need to understand is that TV advertisement is slowly dying. Print advertisement, well, print has been dead forever by now. Radio and other out of homes are going down because their impact isn't as big, and therefore offline advertisement is going to pick up a big chunk of that market. When we look at Germany in 2018, the gross marketing spend per media channel of 32 billion euros, and that's only Germany, has been distributed as you see on the left, as opposed we think that offline will grow up to a part where it outruns the current numbers of digital advertisement. So as said, we think we need to move away from a point of sale to a point of experience, and that makes your asset much more valuable than it might be right now. If you have any questions, that's where you'll find me.
Thanks, Tobias. Really interesting to see well, the new developments on that field. So compared to what are you currently offering? What's the balance between advertising space and things like pop-up shops?
Currently, we're at about 20% advertising spaces and about 20% pop-up stores. Did I say 20% twice? I mean 80% advertisement spaces and 20% pop-up stores. Okay,
cool. And what's your coverage in Europe?
We are actually at the moment active with our platform in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, so GSA region. We're building a network over our suppliers, as Multi or Unibail Rodamco has said, to get them onboarded into the space manager, which lets you in directly to the platform once we go live in the respective country. Because obviously we need to have content on the platform in order to have customers book through it.
Well, definitely, perhaps you'll find some interesting links as well in the other presenters today. Yes. Thanks for your presentation, Tobias.
Thank you very well.
Francis, you're our final speaker.
Fantastic, good stuff, good stuff. Yes, thank you for having us today. Today I'm going to be presenting Auravision. So I'm just going to share my screen with you. Give me 2 seconds. So hopefully you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Fantastic. Yes, so Auravision, we are a retail analytics solution. So not only do we work with retailers, we also work with mall operators. And I guess the message that I'd like to share today is a picture paints 1,000 words, but a video shows 1,000 pictures. ... So just a quick overview of how our solution works. Auravision is a plug-and-play computer vision solution. It integrates with your existing security cameras and gives you an overview of what is happening within your mall space. And I guess that the 3 founding principles that really make our solution what it is the fact that we are rapidly scalable. So integrating with your existing security cameras is going to reduce the cost involved, and is also going to reduce the time spent with installation. Secondly, the ability to provide a level of insights that really hasn't been seen before. By integrating with your existing security cameras, we're going to give you a a real depiction of what is actually happening within your stores. So this allows us to do interesting things like product engagement or marketing engagement. It allows us to see which retail units that your visitors are entering, and it also allows us to do some nice demographic things as well. And then also, finally, we've got privacy by design. So this solution was designed really to be anonymous. So it was designed during the beginning of the GDPR regulations. So right from the off, we realized that not only did we need to make it absolutely sure that no one was personally identified, but also balance that with the fact that more operators need to be able to to utilize the data that we're providing them with. So we feel that we've really struck a balancing act between providing useful information and protecting and respecting public privacy. And one of the great things that we do is we don't use facial recognition. So when we do the demographic analysis, what we're doing is much like how you would walk into a store or a room full of strangers, you wouldn't know anyone's name, you wouldn't know their age. You take a look at some of their defining physical characteristics, like the clothes they're wearing, the color of their hair, their height, the way they walk, the way they stand, and you'd be able to make a determination based on that. And that's exactly how our demographic analysis works. Again, protecting privacy. So just taking a look at the technology landscape, we feel that we've come up with a solution that kind of stands up where other solutions have seemingly failed in the past. So things like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, relying on those things to accurately capture more performance, you kind of run into some dead ends. One of them being the main one being that if someone doesn't turn on their phone or their Wi-Fi or their Bluetooth when they enter your mall, then you're missing an opportunity there to capture data. Now, I'm just going to run into an experience that I recently had with one of our mall operator clients, and basically they've gone through this kind of scenario here, where they've had to lock down the mall, and then they went through a transitionary period where some of their retailers started to adapt their operations so the mall could open up. Now they're preparing for what we're calling the great reopening, and then after that we anticipate a cautionary phase, and then a phase where we return back to normalcy. And I'm just going to run through how we've kind of helped them during that process, that situation that I just outlined to you there. So
well, seems like, Francis, we've lost your audio.
Into retail units, we're also able to do a demographic analysis, and then we're also able to do a conversion rate for store capture. So
Francis,
how many people?
Francis, can you
Yes.
just repeat the last couple of sentences you made, because we lost audio just for
Okay.
a short minute.
Okay, yeah. So here, what we're doing here is we're basically looking at this particular this strip mall here. So it's an outdoor mall, and what we've done is we've drawn these virtual lines here, and we're basically measuring the crossings and activity across these lines whilst doing a demographic analysis. And we're also doing an analysis of how many people walk past a particular retail unit and how many people go into the retail unit. And these are key metrics. The mall footfall, of course, is representative of demand. And once malls are in a position where they can start to market and engage their communities and welcome people back in, you're going to want to be able to measure that, how effective your marketing activities are. Then with tenant footfall, we're looking at the demand to each tenant. We're looking at how healthy your retail mix is as well. Have you selected the right retailers to hit that right retail mix? And then also at the same time, it's also a measure of your relationship between you as a mall operator and the tenant. If your tenant is receiving high demand to their to their retail unit because of the marketing that you've done, then guess what? That relationship is going to be a strong one. So some of these metrics allow you to have a health check on not only the mall, but also your relationship with your tenants as well. And then of course the demographics speak to how effective your strategy is in terms of your retail mix. So for instance, if you're in an aging community and over the next 5 years you've got a strategy of getting more Gen Z out of their homes into your mall, then being able to do a demographic analysis of not only the mall but also the tenants as well is going to be really important. So one of the things we've implemented during this crisis is providing some of our mall clients with weekly health checks. So these are simple widgets, emails that are sent to key stakeholders, just summarizing some of the key events during a given period of time. So here with mall flow, what we're looking at is how many people have come into the mall and then how many people have walked by retail units. So this just gives you an understanding of how busy your mall is. So that's a bespoke metric that we've created. And then with mall conversion, we're looking at how many people come into the mall, but then also go into a retail unit. And then we're just looking at all tenant entries here. So as we can see, there's been some growth in the mall flow, but mall conversion and entries into the tenants is still down. Then we can start to look at conversion across the entire mall to get a better understanding of performance across the mall. And again, these are all weekly widgets that we send to our mall customers at this time. We're looking at a tenant split of footfall. So we're doing a comparison, and again, this allows you to see exactly what is happening. So 99 Ranch, in essence, is an essential retailer. So as you can see, business is still going on for them, but some of these retailers that are still closed, we can see the impacts that is happening there. And then we can also look at conversion as well. So how effective is each of these retail units at capturing the traffic that is walking past? And then we can compare that with previous weeks as well. So in this particular week, I believe this particular client was actually hit by the riots in the US. So they had a particular interest in seeing how that affected their business as well. And again, this is all data that is being generated from their security cameras. And then again, we can start to split things out on a daily basis as well. So if you're looking to spot the trends and see which days are the most busiest, and then split that by retailers as well. Again, this is something we can do using our platform. And then finally, all this information is great, but we often encourage our mall operators to share this information with their tenants, because a lot of tenants aren't capturing this data. If you asked one of your tenants, how many 18 to 24-year-olds came into your retail unit last week, I really doubt many of them would be able to tell you that. So this is all information that's going to be commercially valuable to them. And once you have this information in your hands, it can provide an alternative revenue stream, depending on how in depth you want to go with it. But also it can just help strengthen that relationship that you have with your tenants, during these trying times.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Francis. It's definitely worthwhile to see the information, and indeed having information is one thing, but doing something with that information and sharing it with the tenant is definitely really helpful as well. So yeah, good. Thanks for sharing that out. Not seeing any questions at the moment. So, Francis?
Yes, sir.
For which of the other presenters do you think, well, there might be a really good opportunity to work together?
Yeah, I believe with CBRE, of course, there's a great opportunity there. To see what we can do in enriching the data that they're currently collecting. I believe with Tobias as well and Store2Be, I think there's a lot we can do around measuring the effectiveness of the marketing campaigns and the experiential the experiential things that they're doing within malls. I think there's a great thing we can do around seeing which demographics are engaging with the with the displays, and what the dwell time is and how they move through a particular unit. I think there's a lot that we can do.
That's definitely. So now you are linked, so you can look for each other and see what you can do together. Thanks all for participating. Thanks speakers. Thanks sponsors. I hope you liked this webinar. Feel free to reach out to any of the companies you've just seen. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions for a webinar or for this one or for the other ones, then let us know as well. A YouTube video of this or recording of this this webinar will be available. So if you have any colleagues which were unable to visit or participate, then you'll be able to share that. Keep track of the LinkedIn post where you will find the link for the recording. So thanks all. That's it for now, and hope to see you soon. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
Thank you and bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, thank you.